Why are we not doing it? Okay, there it goes.
Oh, it's going.
It's going.
It's going. We got all the things happening on the media.
Okay, so like every single time we do this, I just think about our friends that are just like, oh, these two. Do you know? Okay, so just so you guys understand, like, hi, I'm Ray.
Hi.
I'm an alcoholic.
I'm Michael. I'm a lot of things, alcoholic and addict.
Yeah, I duly qualify also.
Yeah.
So we actually have the same sponsor, and I saw her in a meeting.
She's probably so mad at me.
She's like,
She's probably so mad at me.
I said, did you see me and Michael's live feed? She's like, yeah, I did. And you'd have to understand our sponsor because she's like hardcore.
Yeah, she is.
And I was like, as soon as we posted it, I thought you'd be rolling your eyes. She's like, most definitely rolled my eyes.
I hope it was a good roll, though.
No, she wasn't. She was just like, oh, Lord. But she did have a question. I told you guys if you had questions that I would totally come back and answer them for you. And so our sponsor had a question for us. How did we get my hair to match him? And it's doing it again today.
Oh, my God.
There you go, Annie. It's a thing.
This is not
we don't
planned.
plan this. We don't
Did I
plan
wear
this.
this shirt last time?
No, you had your hat on,
Okay,
which is maroon, and it matches my hair.
There we go. Matchy. You know,
we don't plan this. We're just that good, Annie. We're just that good.
Done. That good.
All right.
Oh my gosh.
Well, good morning and happy Memorial Day to all of you out there
Yes.
checking this out. Like I said, my name's Ray, and I'm an addict alcoholic. And
I'm Michael, and I'm an alcoholic and addict as well. Happy Memorial Day, like she said. This is definitely a very interesting day for those of us who are in recovery, at least for myself, I can say that. Holidays were very interesting. Holidays were drinking times.
They were, definitely.
Hands down.
Like, we prepped for this stuff. We had the everything ready for the barbecue, and we had made sure we had enough ice and enough drinks for us to run out of and still have some left over at the end of the night.
Don't
like,
forget about our private stash that
right.
no one touched.
right. So we wanted to make it a point, even though most of everybody is off today, we wanted to make a point to go ahead and jump on here and live so that you all can see this, just because we want to inspire those of you that are trying to stay clean and sober today to continue to do it even on the holidays and weekends.
Yes, it's huge. It's huge.
So, do you want me to do the daily reading? Or do you
Sure, you do. You have this amazing reading voice.
That's so funny. All right, so let's talk about that for a second. So, today's topic is Newcomer. All right, and so I'm just going to bump this in a little bit. Whenever I first came around and I was getting sober, I could not read anything more than a sentence, and what I was reading I couldn't comprehend. So part of the things that I had to do getting sober and getting my brain to get back on track was I had to start reading out loud. So that way I wouldn't be intimidated to read out loud when I was sitting around the tables.
Hands down.
So now it's just so crazy. Oh, and I'm dyslexic. I really struggle with reading. So yeah,
I didn't know this.
Yeah. So like still today, whenever I read things, I read it out loud. So that way I can read it and process what reading it, and then I hear it and process myself reading it. So it's just really interesting that like even this program has helped me have the ability to read more efficiently.
That's
like
awesome.
I get compliments on reading all the time. But now you got me on the spot, so I'm kind of nervous.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. The world is watching.
All right, so today's daily reading is just perfect for our topic. So we wanted to share it with you. May 30th. This is from Keep It Simple. It's probably backwards. So one day at a time, the AA program slogan. One day at a time reminds us to live in a sane, natural way. It reminds us we can't control the past. It reminds us we can't control the future. We can only live in the present. We have only the moment. We have only today. Before recovery, our worries about the past and the future put stress in our lives. We need to live in a way that doesn't put us in danger. We need to live in a way that lets us enjoy things. We need to live in a way that lets us stay closer to others, ourselves, and our higher power. Prayer for the day. Higher power, teach me to really live one day at a time. Action for the day. Today, I will keep reminding myself that I have the moment, no more and no less. I am using my moments the way my higher power wants me to.
Exactly.
That was such a good reading.
That's so good. So good. So, I want to thank you for joining us in this moment. Again, I want to start every video with, we are not professionals at all. Zero. Like,
not even a little.
Not even with my own business. Like, not a professional. But we are in recovery. And so we're hoping to convey a little bit of our journeys this morning on being a newcomer and what that feels like, what that felt like for us. and still does at times, because I hope I never stop being a newcomer when it comes to this program. 'Cause
I can actually really resonate with that. So like I have 5 years under my belt, and I know that sometimes I have to really remember I don't know shit. And it's that simple. So like life hits you and I have to reevaluate and look at things from a different perspective than where I was before. And it's one of those things that I have to remind myself, I'm still a newcomer, I still need to learn, and I still need to be a sponge up here so I can soak up all the goodness.
Bingo.
Doesn't stop.
Bingo. You know what I'm actually laughing inside right now because I'm hearing the birds, and when you're a newcomer, like you first start hearing birds, and seeing the world around you, because we were numb for so long. Like I was numb for so long that just the sound of the birds brought me back to life just a little bit. And so that's one of the things that we'll talk about this morning. The feelings that we have, like the reading said, we begin to experience feelings, anxiety, love, joy, like all of it all at once.
The good and the bad.
Yeah, it doesn't come easy. It's like all at once. So first off, also want to say that the opinion we're expressing is for independent adults. Like I really want to make that clear, because it's different. Like recovery has the same feelings, same emotions, but at the same time, it's different depending on what stage of life you're in. Like we're not teenagers, we're not living under mom and dad's roof, so the rules are a bit different for us, and that's, for me, that's the story I'm going to convey.
Yeah.
Is what was it like being a grown man coming into recovery and the experience that I went through. That makes sense?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. And you?
So for me, I'm going to try my best to go back to whenever I was a newcomer, just because I need to remember that. I need to not ever forget what it was like, how hard it was, and what I had to manage through to get where I'm at today. So my perception of today's topic is going to be a little bit different. It's just looking back to where I was compared to where I am now and how that's evolved a little bit. Because being a newcomer, like I said, I still have to bring that into where I'm at today.
Right. I love that. Love that. So if I go back to day one for myself, real quick, I was a double lifer, meaning I had my life and I did my best to like be present as best as I could, but my entire mindset was revolved around getting and using and drinking. Like that's it. Like everything I did, everything I pushed for, I wanted to get through it so I could get to using. And so my life basically fell apart, for lack of a better term, the night that Alex, my partner, confronted me after doing a urine analysis, and I lied to him and told him, "No, I'm good. I'm Gucci, baby." Yeah, only people who are high say that. That's my perception. But I ended up doing just that. I lied to him, and then he knew it, and life fell apart. So the biggest thing for me is that night or the next day, I knew I was done. And so I had to get some assistance in getting rid of what I had left to use. And I knew I couldn't take that step by myself, because if I had it in my hand, I would have used it. And so I called someone, they came over, took it from me. So grateful that they did that. And I got on the phone. When it comes to being a newcomer, if I wasn't willing to make those phone calls myself, if I wasn't willing to do the step work to get into a proper treatment center, I don't think I would have gotten it. If someone else had done it for me, if someone else had made the phone calls, because I wanted people to roll out the red carpet because Michael's coming back, right? No, like I had to do the labor.
Yeah.
And in doing the labor, I was ready to go to treatment. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And so went to treatment, spent several weeks at treatment. I did a 28-day treatment down in Anna, Illinois. If you're in Illinois yourself and you need a place to go, I recommend the Fellowship House in Anna. It's a great facility and absolutely wonderful staff, but they also were excuse my French, they were hard bums, because they made me do work. Like there was no getting around it. And I'm so grateful for that. But while I was in treatment, sorry if I'm like hogging all the time.
Ahead.
Okay. When I was in treatment, I learned these 4 stages of recovery that when I grabbed these and when I was taught these, it gave me a beginning, middle, and end to what recovery could look like for me. And for myself, having an image of a beginning, middle, and end, not just feeling like every day is going to be this feeling for the rest of my life, allowed me the opportunity to map out what recovery could look like for me. And again, it's doing the legwork. It's being willing to do the legwork. So I sat down, wrote out this graph. So I'm going to go over the stages of recovery with you. Okay, is that fair?
Yeah.
Awesome. So when we first get sober,
Which, by the way, even with me with 5 years, he just told me about this morning. I did not know this. So, like, again, being 5 years doesn't mean you can't be a newcomer. You can still learn stuff.
Yeah, and every day I want to learn something. But what ended up happening was when you stop using or drinking, whichever one it is, you go through what's known as withdrawal. We're all familiar with that if we've had someone, a loved one or ourselves, go into recovery or stop using a substance. That's when the body is in shock because it now no longer gets what it's depended on for so long. For me, it was meth, and it was off and on for 6 years. And that last stint was only maybe a month, 2 months stint of being back out, but like my body still developed a dependence on it. So the first 2 weeks after stop using is withdrawal. After that, you get into what's known as the honeymoon period. And this one blew my mind, absolutely blew my mind. The honeymoon period is from 3 weeks, or after the 2 week mark, going to roughly 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, depending on your body. And what happens during that is my body produced dopamine, a lot of dopamine. My brain was trying to get back its level. So it overshot dopamine. And a lot of times, this is where it gets a lot of us addicts. We're like, no, I don't need to go to treatment. I feel fine. Like, I'm good. I'm Gucci.
We were talking about this morning, and I just want to point out, like, so he was talking about those first 2 weeks were withdrawal, and this just occurred to me when you said it the second time. The first 2 weeks is withdrawals. Now, me and my alcoholism was very, very severe. I wasn't just on alcohol, I was on drugs too. So I had something that's called DTs, delirium tremors, which basically means you shake like crazy. And my whole body just felt like I was shaking from the inside out. And I went through that for 6 weeks. So he's talking about 2 weeks here, but for me it lasted quite a bit longer, just because that's where my level of codependency with it was at. But with that being said, I do remember, even though I was shaking, because I can remember handing my coworker a paper, and this is why I know it was 6 weeks. He's like, Rachel, you're not shaking. And I remember being the biggest freaking deal. But I was thinking, it's probably a good thing I was going through all the withdrawal, because if I had hit that honeymoon phase, I probably would have been out the door. But the fact I could feel my body was still trying to work through all of the crap I had put it through, I think that's what kept me coming back.
Right. Right.
So if the 2 week thing don't apply to you, it's okay. You still belong here.
Yeah, totally.
And if it lasts longer, it's okay. You still belong here.
Exactly.
Still here.
So like from that point, and like I'm very grateful that I was in treatment during that period, because I couldn't then be like, oh, I'm fine, right? So I bring up the honeymoon because it's very, very important, because I've heard people say it, I've had family say it, or I've had family in certain experiences where when you start to feel good, you don't think that you need treatment. And that is a pitfall, like huge pitfall. And it's a big warning sign, because what comes next is the hellacious part. Yeah. And so the next phase after the honeymoon period is the wall. There we go. I got it out. Spit it out. It's called the wall. The wall is a period where after the brain has overshot its dopamine, it then begins to do this number day after day after day to try to re-level itself to get right back to where it belongs. And so that wavering of dopamine makes your emotions go up, down, left, right. You're all over the place. And if people, like those of you who truly know me, you know that I'm already all over the place naturally. But in that phase, there were days where I didn't want to get out of bed.
Yeah.
There were days where I was just ready to take on life. And then it was immediately met that afternoon with just feeling like I was ready to take my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, that definitely is a thing.
It does that. It does. And it was so frightening. And so that's where outside help came in. like seeking medical attention, talking to doctors. I had an amazing physician that walked hand in hand with me. On days when I was on suicide watch, she would call me. When I had issues with my prescriptions, she would adjust them for me. Like, finding a medical provider in the beginning of your recovery who hand in hand walks with you, super important, because then I'm not alone, right?
So I absolutely love this. So, like, again, as you're talking about, I'm going back to where I was at 6 months. And at around 6 months for me, I was losing my freaking mind. I was a basket case. If anybody remembers me back in the day, you know. And what I had to do, sometimes you'll hear people around the table say, well, you know, that's an outside issue. You need to go get outside support on that. And that's not an insult. It's not. It's just, there's only so much that the tables can provide for you. And for me personally, I needed depression medicine. I needed a mood stabilizer. I needed something to help me sleep because my anxiety was off the chain and I just couldn't get any rest. I also needed talk therapy. I also needed counseling. So I needed a whole bunch of things at that 6 month point because I was a freaking mess. And like he's saying, that up and down. It's this great high, everything's great, I'm gonna get recovery, it's awesome. And then it's this plummet, and you're right, it can happen from hour to hour.
It can.
And if anybody that follows me, I just recently made a post about what the chemicals in your brain do and how you can get a natural fix. So since he's talking about dopamine, go back and check that out, or maybe I should repost it again.
Tag it on this. I love that. Yeah.
And it just talks about like what this chemical does in our brain and what things we do in our life that helps us tap into it. And in this, you're talking about our brain is completely depleted. There's nothing there to restock on. You have to wait until your brain balances back out before it can start pumping out those chemicals the way that it needs to. So until then, you're on this emotional roller coaster, just hanging on,
right?
Just trying your best to hang on.
Right. And thank you for saying 6 months, because that reminded me. So the wall period happens after the 8-week mark, going to 6 months, like that entire area. And so that's a long time. Mm-hmm. That's a long time. However,
it felt like I was white knuckling it.
Oh yeah, there were days.
Yeah.
There were days. Like, I remember being in the fetus position on some days.
Yeah.
And like literally just pained and there was nothing like hurting me. It was all my body purging the emotions and the things I never mourned or I never grieved over for 6 years. Like 6 years, I went without really showing my honest emotion. Mm-hmm. And so that 6 month period, like, it's left, right, up, down, but at the same time, it has to happen. And you're not weird if you're feeling it. I felt,
right. You're not failing. You're not worthless. It's not that you're lacking enough of anything. Unfortunately, it's kind of a natural process. You're going to go a little crazy before you get sane.
Right. And I'm the type of person that I hate complaining. Like, you can ask my friends, you can ask my family, don't complain to me. Like, I'm just like, don't, because I'm a solution-oriented person, right? And the fact that I couldn't figure out a solution for what was happening inside of me frustrated the heck out of me. And so that part of it, like, I don't like asking for help. But in that phase, I had to. So again, and I felt weird. I felt like I was broken. I felt like I was, what's the word I use? Damaged goods. Like,
yeah, that's a really good way to explain it. That is exactly what it feels like.
Because we know what we're capable of.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we can't just make ourselves do the normal everyday tasks. So
right.
I was like out of it. And so after that 6 month period, you get to what's known as the wall. Adjustment. After the wall period, you get to adjustment. And this is where our brain finally begins to level itself out. It's not perfect, but it starts to level itself out to where now I can live life and kind of already anticipate the emotional shifts when they happen. I can be steady in my recovery, and I can do things without having that immediate backlash, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the tools, and I talked about this earlier, mapping it out, I had my the staff members print out an April to April calendar for me, and it was all in one sheet, and I color coded it. So, because
this was a big deal watching him do this, like reach into it, like this was a big deal.
And so I color coded it for each stage. So I had like red, and then blue, and then
orange for a second.
Orange, yeah. So it was very rainbow. Go figure. Yeah, that happened. But every day Like every day, like religion, I put a red dot on the day that I was on because it helped me grow. And at the beginning, I was like, this is going to take forever to get through this. But as I went, even some days I was crying doing it, some days I didn't want to do it. Like, I had to put that red dot up there. That became a ritual for me every single day. And even though I may have not progressed in my life in any kind of way, I made some kind of progress on that chart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because progress is what it's about. It's not about perfection. Progress, moving forward with some type of thing that I found peace in. And that was peace for me. And then when I finally got down to the 6th month, I finally had the courage to say things that I normally wouldn't have said, to stand up for myself in ways I normally wouldn't have. But at the same time, I felt more like me than ever before.
Yeah.
And that was a true reward. There was a lot of stuff between it, but once I got through that, I began to breathe a little more. And I'm so grateful for that awareness, and so grateful for the fact that I did that step. Again, if we don't do the work, a lot of times the treatment we go through, the hard work we do those first few weeks and first few months is null and void.
Yeah.
Because undoubtedly, if I don't keep myself accountable, I'm going to go back out, right? So go ahead.
So you had said, I keep hearing you say about doing the work. Like, you would not have gone to treatment if you had not done the work. And our program is a lot about action. And I think that unless we have those moments of action, we won't work hard enough at our own personal recovery. So that's very, very important. There was something else you just said too.
I said a lot. I say a lot.
So I did write down rituals. So I think it's really important for not just newcomers, but everybody, but especially if you're a newcomer. Because, like, all right, I remember what I was going to say. All right, we're talking about the crazy. So the thing that a lot of newcomers don't understand is I don't want to say it's okay to be crazy in your own skin when you're first coming around, but it is a normal thing that happens. And part of the reason is, and this took me so long to understand, I spent years, like 30-something years, living numb. If I don't like the way I feel, I'm going to go drink, I'm going to go use, I'm going to go have sex, I'm going to go manipulate somebody, I'm going to go rob somebody so I can go buy something else. Like, there was always something ridiculous I was doing so I wouldn't have to focus on the emotions I have. So whenever you come into the program, you start hearing some sayings that are a little unnatural, like, oh, they're a dry drunk. So I want to explain to you what a dry drunk is. When you're in that first year of recovery, you're probably a dry drunk. It doesn't mean that you're using. It doesn't mean that you're drinking. But what a dry drunk, what we mean whenever we say that is that you haven't been putting that action into this program. So you're sober, but you're not clean. What's the difference? I'm sorry, you're clean, but you're not sober. I said that backwards.
Thank you.
So being clean means you're completely abstinent from any poisons or toxins that we put into our body. Being sober means that you're clear and level-minded thinking. Your brain has adjusted. So until we get to that point, if we're not doing the work, we are miserable and we're angry and we're just like, screw you, I don't need any help. You're a dry drunk. That's what you're experiencing. And I think all of us kind of go through that at the beginning of recovery because we got some pride and a little bit of ego we got to knock away because we can't do this on our own and we do need help and we don't trust people when we come around. So the last thing I'm going to do is reach out to you and ask you for help because I don't trust anybody. So what happens is I isolate, I don't work the program, I don't reach out to my sponsor, I don't reach out to my network, and screw the literature, I'm not doing it, and you're going to tell me to write a list about some stuff? No. So that's where we become that dry drunk.
Yeah.
So once you get past that first year, and if you're doing a program of action, and like he said, if you're working on these steps, and you're striving to get better, it happens. It happens naturally. And then you stop becoming such a dry drunk because you can sit still with these emotions and you can feel the crazy and you can navigate through them and you start becoming a little bit more balanced, and then we start practicing that pause when we lose our mind, and you stop being that dry drunk. You start being a clean, healthy, sober person, and that's where that confidence feels good because you're like, oh, I can do this. You start to feel that value in that self-confidence. The other thing that you mentioned were rituals. And I wanted to talk about that for a second, just because I think rituals are extremely important, especially in the very beginning. Because for me, I went out, I went to work. I went to work drunk because I was still drunk from the night before, or high from the night before. And then I went to work, and then I told myself I wasn't going to go out. And then at about 2 o'clock, I was like, oh, I'm feeling better. I bet you I could go out just for one. Right? And then I would go out for 1 and 2 and 3, and then I'd look at the clock and I'm like, crap, it's 8:30 and I still haven't been home to check on my kids. And I would come home, I would close down the bar, and I would start it all over again. In those moments, I had no ritual. And now my life is completely insane, and now you're telling me to get organized and structured, and you want me to read out of a book every single day, and you want me to make a gratitude list, and you want me to, like, this is weird. This is really, really weird. But those rituals are key, and he mentioned it. Because when we start doing these rituals, we are setting our mind up for the rest of the day. So if I wake up and I have all my sponsees do this, make a gratitude list with me. And, they send it to me and I send them mine back. And the reason is, if I wake up and put my mindset on something positive, I'm not going to spend so much time dwelling on the negative. And that's my personal ritual. That's something that I have to do every single day. Because if I don't, it's very easy for me to slip into those old habits and those old ways of thinking. And then, even though I have 5 years, I'm slipping into that dry drunk phase again, because I'm unhappy with the way things are. So rituals are very, very important for newcomers.
I want to go back to something you said about the difference between being sober and being abstinent, right? Because I love what you said. I've heard it I heard it just a little different. So being dry is being abstinent from substance, right? Being sober, how did it say it? Being sober is being abstinence and also working a program to enrich one's life. So like it's exactly what you said. It's getting to that clear mindset. But how do we get to that clear mindset? We work.
See, mine was more the Webster's Dictionary thing, and he's like, "No, we need to talk to the people."
Love you. That's what it is, right? And it's not easy. Like
it's not.
It's not easy doing those rituals. I am not a person like, let's just say the simplest task of going to the gym every day. I hate it.
Right.
I hate it. I'm going to tell myself I didn't go yesterday. I might not go today. And I'm okay with it because that's the decision I made this morning. But I had to make a decision, right? What ends up happening, like when you first come in, none of us were structured when we were out there, right?
Not even a little bit.
Not even. I mean, we were structured in getting it. Like I could come up with eight different ways of telling this person this, so I don't have to be there. So I could go here, pick it up, have enough time to get back, maybe do a little, and then see them. Maybe. Right. So like, we weren't structured in how to just go about life. So like, when creating these rituals, when creating this routine habit, I had to actively do it. I had to actively make a decision to do it. And it was, how do I say, until the pain is great enough, till the pain of using is greater
than the fear of change.
Then like nothing will ever happen. I was in a level of pain that I never want to, like even today, there are moments when, like, for instance, I had a using dream last night, like, and
boo, you've been getting triggered.
I've been so
like crazy.
These things have been happening. Like, I'm still not sane. And so what I mean by that is, like, I had a using dream, and in that using dream, like, things took place. I know I'm still sick because I wanted to go back to sleep to keep the dream going. And that's real. That's real.
Yeah,
I'm just telling on myself here. But at the same time, I know that in the morning, I don't want to experience the pain of waking up with that
guilt
reality.
And shame, and what if they say demoralization?
Yeah.
Man, that is brutal too.
Yeah.
That is so brutal, and such a real thing. Such a real thing.
And so even at a year sober, I'm still new. But like driving here today, it's Memorial Day. It was still a day. We all have an excuse of why we're not done yet. But like Memorial Day was one of those days for me. And driving over here, I passed a residence that I used to partake. Are they still? I have no clue. I'm not going to find out. But I had a thought, like, and again, stinking thinking, like, all newcomers have to understand that their thoughts are not right. My thoughts are not right. I had a thought that said, maybe I could stop by there real quick, knock on the door, say, do an amends. Right.
Yeah.
What are my motives?
Yeah.
So like, recovery for myself has been ever changing and ever evolving. what I've learned is that I cannot make a decision without following someone else, if that makes sense. So, I mean, our sponsor is our sponsor. She probably is so mad at me because there's some work that I need to do, but I've been avoiding it. Watch me do it this week since I've said that out loud. Yeah.
He just made himself really accountable to
really
everybody
did.
on Facebook.
I really
so,
did.
like, look, next week you guys need to like ask him a question if he did his work the way he's supposed to. And I'll ask too. It's okay. We got him. We got him.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
I'll be calling you sponsor. But yeah, so that's basically where I'm at with the whole subject of Newcomer. Like, any more thoughts?
Let me think. Oh, so I had a couple of questions I thought would be good just for people to understand. What are 3 things in your Newcomer toolbox that you think are vital for everybody to practice?
Okay, I love this. I love this. Number 1, the phone.
I was going to say the same thing.
Bingo. Number
Yeah.
1's the phone.
It's so freaking heavy though. Like
Yeah.
even at 5 years, I hate reaching out and asking for help. That is probably one of my biggest character defects is putting my pride down to ask for help.
Yeah.
So that is so vitally important. You're going to feel awkward. You're going to feel like you're coming out of your skin. Like, what if they don't talk to me? What am I going to say? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
What if they're busy?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, we've all gone through this. We've all gone through this crazy delusional and all these rough emotions. It's like a tsunami of emotions that hit you at times. And you're left on the floor, completely confused, totally have no idea where you're at. And sometimes you just need somebody to grab a hold of so you can stand back out. And that's what that phone does. So even though it's so heavy and it just seems like completely unnecessary, just give it a try.
Yeah.
Because you've spent years not picking it up. Just give it a try.
Yeah, I remember the first time, and I never understood when people said the phone's so heavy. Like, I didn't understand that at first because I'm like, I can pick my phone up. Like, maybe I'll need to work out. I don't get it. Like, because
It's emotionally heavy to do it.
It's emotionally heavy, yes. Because again, we don't want to inconvenience people, but
Right.
I'll never forget. Like, I will never forget the first time I actually picked up the phone when I got home from treatment. When I got home from treatment, oh, I want to talk about this. Emotions, like I was prepared in knowledge whenever I left treatment of what I need to do, things like that. I was not prepared for the emotional state that I would be in.
I didn't know that was a thing until I was in the middle of it.
Yeah, because your body wants to
Like when I say it hits you like a tsunami, I literally, that's how it was to me.
Yeah, same.
Like when you said fetal position, I remember being there at the beginning of recovery.
Because your body, we're creatures of habit. Our bodies are animals, right? And so my body and my mind wanted to respond to the world the way that it responded to me before I went to treatment.
Yeah.
But now here I come back to ground zero where I basically blew up my life. And like responding to life, it was so like, I wanted to be where I was. I wanted the red carpet. Michael's back. That's not what happened. Like, no one wanted to see Michael. And that was so hard. Like, that was so hard. But I got through it because it was 3 a.m. Never forget, 3 a.m., first night home. And I'm literally on the couch of my pastor's house at the time, crying because I could not fall asleep. I was in emotional pain, thinking about everything and everyone but going
Crying
to sleep.
is very inadequate. I feel like sobbing is probably
sobbing.
better.
We'll
It's probably better.
We'll say that. Sobbing. You're right.
Because you know, if you got to get the tissues to wipe the snot off, that's a whole different level of cry.
Yeah. And so I picked up the phone and I called my sponsor. Like, at the time, I picked up the phone. Did they answer? No, they were probably asleep. But that's okay because I did the action of picking up the phone.
Yeah.
There's so much power in doing that because what we're doing is we're resetting a button in our brain that says, no, I'm not going to do what I used to do. I'm going to do something else. And in that movement, like that one act alone, did it bring me peace? Not 100, but I was able to fall asleep. Like, in doing that, like I was able to then realize the power of picking up the phone.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
It absolutely does.
Like, huge.
Part of the picking up the phone too is just to get to a place where you feel insane. You feel absolutely insane. And then you reach out to somebody and you pick up that phone and all of a sudden you feel normal in your craziness because they get it. And not everybody will. If you're going to reach out to somebody that we're going to call a normie, somebody that can drink without repercussions and all that stuff, which I don't understand you. I love you, but I don't understand you. I'm not going to get that type of commonality or empathy or compassion from somebody that's a normie because they don't understand the struggle. I can reach out to you and you'll be like, oh no, you're okay. You're okay. You're all right. Because he understands the type of crazy that I deal with. And so like it is very awkward, but it is such a necessity. The other thing I want to explain is that you were talking about rerouting our brain, and it was hitting a button. So there's actual neural pathways that go through your brain, and whenever we have a situation, our brain's like, oh, you go here to here.
Right.
Simple, simple, simple. Use, use, use. And then whenever you hit that button like he's talking about, you create a new neural pathway down here. Now, our brain wants to go this way, but at some point we have to redirect it. And the more you redirect it, the more it stops going over here, because it's realized this is the better pathway. You're literally rewiring your brain as you make these different choices and these different moves. And it's really, really cool just to understand that you can correct the damage. It's doable.
Yeah.
All right. So picking up the phone.
Pick up the phone. I'm a journaler.
I am too.
I'm a journaler. And so every morning.
I'm not that good of a journaler.
Well, so it's part of my morning ritual. So like I log into a Zoom meeting every morning. We'll talk about that in a minute because I think that's the third one. But I write the third step prayer. Like in 12 steps, like if you're part of it, you know what I'm talking about. The third step prayer, and in writing that prayer every day, it reminds me, my favorite line: "Relieve me of the bondage of self." It reminds me that in that 24-hour period, I am not to take the reins. Period. It's not up to Michael. Michael's life is not up to Michael. It is up to my higher power, what I choose to call God, and it's up to the program of the 12 Steps program. Like, that's it. I make no decisions. I really don't. And I'm a little extreme with it. When I'm hanging out with friends and they're asking me to make decisions, eventually I'm like, nope. I'm done making them. You make them now, because I'm just along for the ride. I got 8 more hours left in this day. You tell me where I'm going. Like that's just the way I am. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does.
Yeah.
Totally.
So that was my second one, is journaling.
I like that. So journaling, my first year, I did a journal, and I did something that's called bullet journaling. For anybody that is familiar with scrapbooking, bullet journaling is a way of taking scrapbook type of creativity, and then you add your journaling to it. So there's a lot of bullet points, there's a lot of artwork in there, there's a lot of graphs in there and charts in there. I rewrote all of my step prayers in Rachel language that I could resonate and I could relate to, because sometimes the God topic gets a little difficult for me, even though I do believe in God and I do believe in higher power. But that first year, I wanted nothing to do with it. So I had to make my recovery, and I did that with my journal, and I still have it, and I pull it out every once in a while when I work with new sponsees. Be like, oh, you don't think I was crazy? Hold on, wait. Okay, read that, and tell me I wasn't crazy. And I also really appreciate the fact that I have that journal, because I can see how far I've grown. And the things that I used to struggle with at the very beginning are like, why was I even hung up on that? It's so easy now, because I can practice that pause, and I've rewired the way I think a little bit, and I continue to do that. So I'm huge into journaling. Huge. There's also something about journaling that sometimes my headspace gets really crazy, and I like to use the analogy, it's like a very busy train station, and there's so much noise and there's so many people walking around, I can't find where I'm supposed to be. And it's like that. But as I write things down, and it's like, okay, so that noise quieted down. This person got out of the way. That person got out of the way. And then after I write all this stuff down, my train station is very quiet, and I know exactly where to go. Yeah. So journaling helps purge out the chaos in my head, so I can even think straight. Yeah. And I also want to say that, like, the act of writing, I no longer have to keep track of it and, pardon the term, mentally masturbate over it, because it's on paper. If I want to come back and look at it, if I need to come back and work on it, it's on paper. I don't have to carry it upstairs anymore. I can let it go. And that's something that's very important to me with journaling. Even you got turned up by that face.
I did. Like that phrase gave me a lot of friction. Like,
no pun intended.
No pun intended. Oh my gosh, that was good. I'm gonna mull over that this week.
I apologize if that offended you. But for those of you that didn't offend you, understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, that was intriguing. I like that.
All right, so number 3 on our toolbox.
Number 3. So I love the fact you said you had to make your recovery your recovery. I think after treatment, I spent 2 weeks. I lived in sober living. And so again, my life had fallen apart. So I was no longer with my partner, wasn't allowed in the house. So much to the point he even changed the locks on the house. And let me tell you, learning that, I wasn't never going to touch the door again until he asked me to. But like just learning that was hard.
Yeah.
That was so hard. But 2 weeks after, I went to Colorado with my aunts, and ended up while in Colorado. I knew that I had to make my recovery mine and not depend on them to take me to a meeting.
Yeah.
And so I found a Zoom meeting in Colorado that still to this day, I still meet with these people.
That's awesome.
Every morning at 7 a.m. our time, because it gets my day started, it's a part of my ritual, and it helps me get in the right mindset. And so 12-step meetings, Zoom, that is the other big one in my toolbox. Because life is different once I got home, because I wasn't in that structured living. I had to create the structure, like we said, the rituals. And so being in a meeting every morning gives me that structure.
Yeah.
And it gives me that accountability. So then that way I can then start my 24-hour period. Because when you first get home, they recommend that you do 90 and 90 meetings in 90 days. No, you can't double up and like half it out. Like, you gotta do 90 and 90. I did some days, most days, 2 meetings in a day.
That's how I was too. I needed it.
Yeah.
I needed that because I was going so stir crazy at the beginning. If I did not go to a meeting, I was probably doing something I shouldn't.
Yeah.
And so I needed to go to a meeting every single day so I could really let this stuff sink in.
Yeah, hands down. And that is exactly what I did. And so that was my third tool. Like, the people, I want to be very clear about this because I know that we have different perspectives on higher power and things like that. I'm a kid who grew up in the church. And so when I think a lot about my church upbringing, I already feel like a failure on so many levels because I didn't measure up to the rules that church provided for me, right? Yeah. And so one of the things that I've learned, and again, this is my own personal opinion, is when going to a facility of organized religion, it's like you believe in something and then you're a part of the fellowship. In 12-step program, it's not that way. It's you're a part of the fellowship and you come to believe.
Yeah, that is so good.
Like,
that is so good.
And so there's no expectation. You show up as you on a daily basis. Give us your best self. Give us your worst self. Doesn't matter.
You can give us your worst self and still show up. I've watched this happen, and it's really cool to watch it happen. If you keep showing up, eventually, despite your own best effort, you'll change.
Yeah.
There's somebody I'm watching in the program right now, and it's just like, holy crap, like, her attitude is crap, and she'll straight up tell you that is crap, but like, we're watching her change every single week. And like, she keeps coming back. She's still here. So because of that, those neural pathways are starting to change, even though she ain't willing, but she is, because she's still here.
Yeah.
Her pride's just in the way. That's all. That's all.
That's my 3.
I like it.
That's my 3.
I like it. All right, I think we're good.
All right.
I
think we covered a lot this morning.
We sure did.
Like,
We
this
definitely
is fun.
did.
This was fun. This was fun.
Yep. We'll see what AK says.
Well, you know,
AK is our sponsor.
Yeah, she's lovely. Actually, she's very awesome.
She is.
You know, I still have a cake dish of hers in my car that I need to give her. She's gonna be she's so mad at me. I know she's mad at me. She's probably gonna call me today. I need to call her first though.
Yep. You might want to beat her to the chase.
I will. But anyway, that's our topic on Newcomer. That's our convo on Newcomer. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Let us know. We'll be starting a Facebook page, and we have a YouTube channel. And so what we're going to do is you will find the link to all our videos to our YouTube channel on that page, but it's there for open dialogue.
Yeah.
So if you have anything you want to share, anything you want to contribute, any questions you want to ask, please do it. Help us out.
Even if there's like a topic you want us to touch on or talk about or anything, and like I said, any questions, even if it's like, why do we match? Like, that's fine too. I don't care. I will totally answer those questions. But we would love to hear from you. We love the open dialogue. And we appreciate all of you for watching.
Yeah.
That's all we got?
That's all we got.
All right. I'm Ray.
I'm Michael.
And I hope you do something today that puts a smile on your face and somebody else's while you're at it. Have a great day.
Yes. Mwah.